Thank you for joining us for the Oracle Card Creation Summit. Oracle cards, tarot cards, affirmation cards, whatever types of cards you're interested in. Creating cards, whether as a gift, project, to sell, or to use personally. Creating Oracle cards helps us to expand and tap into our own inner energies. Grab your notebook and a pen and maybe some art supplies, and let's get started. Welcome to the Oracle Card Creation Summit. I'm your host, Larissa Russell, and I have with me Bodhi Simpson. So welcome, Bodhi.
Hi, Larissa.
I'm excited to have you back. It's been a little while, but
yeah, I'm happy to be back. Yeah, it's nice to see you. It's been a while, for sure.
It has been a while, but yeah, I'm glad to have you. So for those who don't know, can you just tell us all a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Let's see. I'm an art therapist. I have a practice in Waterville, Maine called Conscious Art Therapy. And basically what that means is I work with people using their own imagery and other imagery to understand more about themselves and create healing in their own lives.
I love that. And so this is all about Oracle cards, and I know you've created a deck, but how do you specifically use Oracle cards?
Yes, so I personally have used them for a long time. I have so many different decks. I love working with different themes of different decks. And for my own personal practice, I pull cards very often just to kind of work with the symbolism, the imagery, I feel like for me, it really brings forth unconscious material that I can work with more deeply. And so like over here on my shelf, I have several different types of decks, and I actually use them with my clients. And we often have clients pull cards, and just like we would in a creation, in an art therapy session where they have created the art, we have them kind of feel into each image that they might pull around what it is awakening in them, what it's teaching in them. So I feel like, in a sense, the cards really complement art therapy really, really well. In also just teaching people how to work with imagery when their own creative process may be feeling a little bit blocked. It's almost like it doesn't feel as threatening to use other imagery. So
yeah, I really agree with that, because I know that when I pull a card, and it's sort of like tapping into that intuition part, right? And just sort of like, okay, what is this here to tell me? What is this? And then the imagery will start something, but it's more about tapping into that intuition for me. So yeah.
Yeah, it kind of opens a door
that
we wouldn't have even thought of or opened had it not shown up.
Yeah, exactly. So what have you personally gained from creating your own Oracle cards?
Yeah, so a big part of why I wanted to create a deck was because at the time I was working with a lot of children, for instance, and children are so intuitive, and I thought, man, I really want to start using cards with children that I'm working with. But a lot of the cards that I was finding for specifically children were just too wordy or too complex. So it actually started out as like 15 cards that I was going to use in my art therapy practice with children. And then what happened is, of course, it became more than that. It became, it was basically a deck that I needed that didn't exist yet. And so it really brought me a tool that made sense for me. And my hope is that it would click for other people as well.
You know, a lot of people that I talk to that have created decks, it's very much that way. They started, it was just something for themselves. And then, you know, they realized how much it helped them. And then it was like, oh, okay, now I need to share this. And then, you know, on and on from there. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And so can you tell us what you're going to be sharing with us today? Or just
sure. I'm going to be sharing. So we have the Wisdom of the Heart deck, Affirmations to Connect Your Heart and Mind. I'll talk to you guys a little bit about kind of the journey and the process of bringing this into the world, and then a little bit about how to work with it.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to fade into the background, and I'm going to let you get started.
Okay, great.
I love that. I just, the process and the, you know, I've talked to numerous people now about sort of the process they've gone through, and it's always different. And so I love that journey that you took and ended up taking together. Now, you had said at the beginning you had made 15 cards for kids. Is that separate from this deck? Or is it part of this deck?
Well, at first we were going to have like a children's deck, an adult deck. And so what happened is we created the children's deck and then we were like, whoa, like my daughter, she was like, Mom, grown-ups are just big kids. She said that when she was little. And I was like, you know what, Willow, you're right. And so as we were creating this, we were like, whoa, like the parts of us that were blocked were honestly like childlike parts of ourselves. Like Ava and I realized like, I've believed this since I was a little girl. And then as we were doing this with clients, realizing like, whoa, there's like 6-year-olds that something happened in their life and they're telling themselves, I'm a bad girl. I'm not level. They don't necessarily realize it, but it's been able to come out in using these cards. So, so we decided that's the first 15 cards are really basic. Like I love myself, but the truth is we all need to hear that. So we ended up keeping them in there. So when I use them with kids 10 and under, I pull only those 15 cards. Or like Ava has families that they have those cards, they have them by the door, and then they pull it every morning before they go off to school. Something the kids can really understand. But what I actually found is a lot of even the adult cards, like my kids understood. You know, like I take time to slow down. My kids get that. So yeah, we try to keep it real basic.
Yeah, I really love that. The basicness of it, but it's deeper than that, right? Like I get the rainbow colors and the basic shapes and drawings, but it's deeper. Yeah.
Yeah, because for me at least, if they're too wordy or too complex, my brain shuts off. I don't know. It needs to be really distilled for me to really, because I feel like, I guess I keep doing this. It's almost like we're really going for the core here. Like, what's the core of this? So I felt like the more basic we could be. So we actually had a lot of other messages that we chose not to include because they just didn't feel as distilled.
And so do you still have them available, the coloring book and the decks and things?
Yes. Yeah, and Ava will talk about that. So that's the other piece she brings in is she has a website called Dancing Jaguar Inspirations, and the Wisdom of the Heart deck is on her website. And so people can purchase through there.
Yeah, and I love the coloring book idea for the affirmations. I think that's brilliant too. So
yeah. So if anybody's thinking of creating, I think, if you're creating a template, there's probably a lot of different ways you could be using it as you go, ahead of time. Yeah,
I love that. And you said you wanted to pull a card with me, so let's try that.
Let's do it. Okay, so I'm just going to put I'll put one hand over it, and I will just have you tell me when to stop, and I'll pull your card.
Now. I love myself.
We're going for the core.
Going for the core.
So without going too deep, Larissa, before we end, do you feel you're able to receive that message? Do you feel any resistance to it?
This is so fun. We've been having this conversation a lot around here in my home. And what does it mean to love yourself? And what does it mean? How deeply can you love someone else versus how deeply you love yourself? So we've been actually having this conversation. I feel like I have a fair bit of self-love, but it's taken a lot of work. I had constant messaging that when I was growing up about not being worthy, not being good enough, not living up to my potential, all of the things. And so it's taken a lot, but I feel like I'm getting there. But it is interesting because we have been having this conversation a lot.
I love that. So maybe you can do some kind of doodle around loving yourself and put it up and work with it and open to it and feel it every day.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Larissa.
I've been using Oracle cards a fair bit lately. I had lots of them before and I kind of put them away, and lately I've pulled them back out again, and the messages come when you need them, and
Really
absolutely.
do. Yeah.
So I just want to thank you so much for being here, and thank you for watching. It's not too late to purchase the summit.